There are a couple of things that I think that I hope you come to understand as you start your careers, and that is, I think that, or one of the things I think that can be a weakness is are folks who have never had the experience of failure. Failure is the great teacher, and there's nothing wrong with failure from time to time. You are going to fail at something at some point from time to time. It may be a small fail. It may be an epic fail, but failure can be one of our great teachers in life. One of the things I've noticed about some of the new employees that we have is they haven't had that experience. They don't know how to fail successfully. And failure in and of itself is not a great thing, but learning from it and failing successfully can really be what differentiates you from others, because it gives you the ability and the interest, I guess, to take a risk because you're not afraid. I may fail, but you know what? It'll be okay if I do, and it is okay if you do. I don't fire people because they fail. I'm more likely to fire you because you're afraid to take a chance, and you're afraid of failure, than I am because of you. I don't fire people very often, but I'd be more afraid if you were that way than if you fail.
Mm-hmm. Right, I was telling the story at lunch today. So I was sitting with our chief operating officer, and he looked at me and another person in the group, and we were in the boardroom. I mean, I don't know, there must have been 100 people in the boardroom. Really, there were probably only 20, but it felt like 100 at the time. And he looked at me and he said, "That is the dumbest thing that has ever been done in the history of the company." Our company is 103 years old. Okay? So, and then I had some assurance from one of my counterparts who said, "We've done a lot dumber things, don't worry." But I mean, it's that moment where you're like, holy. But I mean, Gerald saw it as a failure. Mm-hmm. It was a failure in decision making, not taking all the implications into account. I guess I felt better because it was one of my counterparts who was in it with me. But we didn't get fired. He shared his point of view. We shared ours, why we thought it was. He even gave us some things that he felt like we had not taken into consideration. We all walked away from the table, and we undid what we did, the decision that we made. But I mean, it was a moment where it's like, okay, you're like, oh, I know all the people in the room were like, what's going to happen next? But it was because we had made a pretty bold decision about what we were going to do on our single largest business at Target. And it was a strategic shift on how we were going to manage that business and how we were going to go after one of our competitors. And we felt very confident in our decision. We were moving forward. We had talked to Target about it, and Gerald was like, time out. So, I mean, we sat down, we talked through it. No one got fired. Everybody still has their job. And, we came to a decision as to what we all felt really was the right decision. So I think to your point, Rick, I mean, don't come in so cautious and so fearful that you don't put yourself out there and make the decisions that you feel are right for your business. You're not going to be right 100% of the time. Someone's going to disagree with you, and you might have to retrench and go in a different direction. But it doesn't mean you have more risk not to do that, because then you're just coming in and you're just doing your job rather than challenging the organization to think differently on the way they're doing business. And to be quite frank, we talked about this earlier today too, is our organization and a lot of the organizations out there really depend on folks like you to come back after being in the workplace, coming back and going to school. We are depending on you to come into our organizations and challenge us. And challenge us to think differently and to do things differently and consider different options, because our world is changing so quickly. The face of retail and the implications of all of that to our business in particular are drastic, and they are happening really fast. And we the ones who just do what they've always done, won't be here in a decade. They'll be irrelevant. So we're depending on kind of folks like you to come in and really challenge the status quo and challenge respectfully and challenge what we're doing today.